Okay, I think it's working. Let's see. Oh, okay. Hello, hello. Good afternoon. If you can see and hear me, put a like or say hello. And I'll get my screen pulled up here and we'll get started. Yay! Okay, just one sweet little minute here. There, there we are. Okay, yay! I'm just gonna copy this link into the event in case anyone is feeling lost or unsure of where to go. And then we will make it happen. Okay, I'm live. Woo woo! There we are, there we are. Okay. Hello, hello. I'm Stephanie Feld. If we haven't met yet, welcome. I'm excited for this topic. And by the response, it seems like other folks are excited about it too. So if you haven't been a part of a live stream like this before, it's very casual. You're welcome to put questions, comments, whatever in the chat, and we will have a nice, honest moment together. So let me just check one more time to make sure this is for real, occurring and happening in life. And I think we're good to go. Yay! Okay. I'm I don't know about you, but I'm feeling a little bit low energy today. It's Thursday. Um we've had some sickness in the house, so there's just a lot going on. If you can relate, give me a thumbs up. But hopefully you and your people are doing well and you're not getting too many cancellations right now. Okay. Let me turn my screen over and here we go. This feels more normal. Yay! Okay. So today our topic is how I went from a full caseload to part-time work and made more money. That's crazy. Um, I I'm excited to talk about it. I feel like I'm not the only one who's done this. Thankfully, I had lots of amazing like mentors and community around me, and I want to share it with you. I think there's lots of people who are in private practice, are having some of the same coming across the same things that I was, and then are wondering what is next for me? How can I make this work for me? So that's the starting point and the heart of where we're going. Um, cool, cool. I'm gonna give folks just a second to find us. And if you are here, feel free, let me know so I know I'm not talking just to myself. Put a like or say hi and tell me where you're logging in from. I'm in St. Louis, Missouri, and it is currently 30 something degrees. So quite chilly over here. All right. Hey, hey, welcome, welcome. Okay. So, um, I I'm thinking about sharing my screen just so I can stay focused. And I know when people are giving me information that I want to remember, I need to like visualize it and see it. So that's a little bit different than what I typically do, which is just sort of chat. Um, but it could be helpful to move forward that way. Okay, here we go. There's a little bit of a delay, but I'm seeing the comments now. Hey, Diana in Alabama. 55 sounds great. Michelle's in North Carolina. Ashley, Florida. Yay! That sounds fun. And hey, Shauna, good to see you. See you. So cool. Um, yeah, let's dive in. I think I'm gonna do the screen share thing. See how it feels. If it feels a little too impersonal, I can always do the shift. Let me know in the chat how you're feeling today and if there's anything specific that you're hoping, like if you have a specific question or something you're hoping we'll cover. And I will share this screen. It is just a old school Google Doc because that's how I roll. Okay. Okay, okay. Yes. Well, let's do it. You can sort of see my little face. So, consider yourself warmly welcomed. You're here. And really, what I want to do is kind of share with you a little bit about my process. And then looking back, what I would have done differently or on purpose if I had known from the start, like, hey, my goal is to work less and earn more. Honestly, that wasn't what was happening. I was just sort of noticing things as I went along and stumbling my way through. So here's kind of the process. And please, at any point, if you have a question or if you relate, like just put one. This is super easy, but put like a one in the chat if you're like, oh yeah, I hear that. Like that's me for sure. So let's set the scene. My practice opened shortly after COVID. I had become a mom and I knew that I couldn't work in community mental health the way that I had um, because I had a immunocompromised little baby and I had worked in pretty like high acuity, higher risk sort of situations. So I was like, this is not for me anymore. And I just so happened to have a friend who who connected me with someone that was involved in practice building and was my business coach. So I started out in private practice, somehow started completely private pay. And if you've done that sort of like building your private pay caseload, it can take a very long time. And it's like a whole marathon all within itself. So that was like the focus of my world when my practice opened, like so many of us, learning all the things about marketing, learning all the things about business that I didn't know anything about. Really, I just thought, oh, I want to just see clients. I wasn't thinking about all the other things that go into running a practice. So fast forward however long it took, 6 months to a year, somewhere in there, I find myself thinking, oh my gosh, I did it. I did it. My caseload is full. My calendar is full. The amount of money that I had been, wanting to be bringing in was happening. And, you know, I feel like when you're in that building place, I remember like Facebook posts where people like at the time I was working with Anna Walker a lot, and there would be posts that are like, "How many more clients do you need to be full?" And I'd be like, it was like six, and then it was three, and then it was one, and it just felt like such a big thing. And then when I got there to the full spot, I think kind of like when you climb to the top of the mountain, I thought like, oh, it's all going to be good now. Like, obviously everything's going to work and I'm going to feel great and I'm going to have these amazing moments with clients and I have reached, the pinnacle of what I can imagine. And I am kind of giggling a little bit. If you had a similar experience where, you were expecting that, maybe not, maybe you're not as naive as I am, but I tend to be pretty focused on whatever the task at hand is. And and then I got into actually living my life with a full private pay, private practice caseload, right? Looking at my calendar at the start of the week and seeing, oh, I have, 5 sessions on Monday, and then I have whatever, 5 on this day. I think at one point my caseload was like 18, and I worked three, no, probably 4 days. So I was having to like do the work, right? Like see clients, do the case notes, keep up with billing, like all the things. And it didn't take long before, sadly, before I started to feel like I like something isn't lining up here for me. I'm not feeling the way that I thought I was going to feel. And so this actually really captures it for me. I felt like on paper, if I said, "Oh, my shout out for the week is I have private pay full caseload," right? You would be a lot of people would be like, "Gosh, I that's only something I dream of." But what it felt like for me to be living that, I felt like a I felt like I was in a relay race that I did not sign up for, right? Like get ready for the first session, see that person, end on time, get the next person, connect, get into the heart of it, close the session, get the next person, like, go to the bathroom, get some food. Like everything became so like so much of the mechanics of running a practice took up my energy and my time, and that's where so much of my focus was. And I was slowly, it dawned on me how unhappy I actually was, even though this is what I had gone to school for and worked on, invested money in, for like a really long time. And so I was just sort of like, it took a while for me to actually be honest about that. But then when I did, I thought, well, I get like what now? What happens now? So let me follow my notes because I'll get off topic. But if you've ever felt that way, well, you're not alone. That's for sure. So I want to talk about the path that I took that helped me to reclaim my time, my energy, and my income. And I didn't want to abandon the deep, meaningful work. That was why I got into this field in the first place, is that I do genuinely enjoy being with people in these like deep, um, powerful moments. So I didn't want to just be like, I'm not a therapist anymore. But I didn't know what to do. So yes, I kind of jumped ahead of myself, but the truth about a full and successful caseload, I believed that being full meant that I would be thriving. And I think there are people who that is their reality, and I feel really, really happy for them. That just wasn't my experience. And I think it's important to normalize that not every, like, that may not be the thing that like works or feels good for everybody. So the things that were happening inside of me, I did feel like I was just holding a lot of like emotional labor and luggage. I definitely had like fatigue from going through the same motions again and again. And yeah, pressure to always show up. It was very difficult for me being someone who's neurodivergent, a mom. I mean, I think just being human, it was hard for me to show up consistently day after day, week after week. And I thought that if that was hard for me, that meant something about me. But now, knowing what I know, I think that doesn't mean I'm deficient in some way. That just means that way of doing therapy wasn't the best fit for who I am. So I feel like that's a big realization because I did not know that and forced myself to continue to be in that pattern for so long. So let's continue. These were the signs that I was ignoring. You know, I was starting to feel dread when I saw my calendar and there were like multiple, like I had a day full of sessions, which is ironic to feel dread about the thing that you've been working for a long time, but there we are. I did feel like I was at the mercy of my schedule. Like I just have to be in this specific room and all the time. Like my world felt really small. And I wouldn't say that at that time I was like in a burnout state, but I was certainly not feeling like alive and connected and like vibrant. You know, I felt more like I was just um, doing a lot of things, producing a lot. So the takeaway or that the realization at that point was my caseload was full, but I was not. And I really, really did feel like I was just like a timekeeper, um, and not what I wanted to be, which was more of like a healer, to be honest. So tell me in the chat if any of this is resonating with you. You can say what it is, or you can just put a one or a Y. And I'm going to pause just a sec because there is a delay between what I say and when you hear it. Yeah, thanks. Thanks. Cool. I was like, I don't think I'm the only one. So how I've come to see it now, is that weekly work is obviously very powerful. We've been doing it this way for a very long time. But a lot of times when I was working with clients, it felt like things were fragmented, like pieces of the process were in that session or that session. And it was just like a lot of mental and emotional work to try to string all of those insights or realizations together. And again, I just thought, oh, that's what a therapist has to do. So I need to be better at it, or I need to figure out how to do it. And you know, it did feel like it was moving slow. I realize now about myself that I do get a little bit impatient or I get excited, I'll say. And I think the energy drain of having to start and stop constantly throughout the day or attuning to multiple different people's nervous systems and stories throughout the day was also extremely draining for me. Um, so I just want to give an example. I'm not going to say all these things. It's funny that you can, I don't know if this is actually helpful for you to see, but whatever. Um, it keeps me organized. I think at some point I started to think, I wonder if I'm just a bad therapist. And thankfully, I'd been in the field long enough that I kind of knew that wasn't the case. But all the evidence of how I was feeling when things were like perfect or how they should be, didn't match up. So, like an example, I think, I think, I think examples really help. I had an experience recently where someone depicted something instead of just like describe what am I saying? Like naming it, I guess. And it hit really different. So I want to give this example and see if you relate to anything in here. So I would have I'm thinking of this happened lots of times, but I'm thinking of one particular client and I'll be, sensitive with not a lot of specific details. But I remember that this one particular client was coming in, and one of the primary concerns was their like their relationship with their wife and this like recurring conflict or this like recurring tension that had been going on. And each week they would come in and share whatever had happened recently between in their relationship. So one day we might have been talking about how she's very forgetful and how that was very frustrating, or they overspent and why that is and how they wished it was different, or they're not having sex as much as they want to, or they had a road trip and a ridiculous, like comedic stressful family vacation. Every single week it felt like we were talking about the topic. We were coming at it from all these different angles. And the person found it very helpful to be able to process and discuss, all the different vantage points. It was a good conversation. I felt like we were traveling some of the same roads over and over. And what I really wanted was to be able to have time, right? To go really deep and to make those connections back to the root issue of where this is coming from, right? It's it's probably not about the money, it's probably not about the sex or the annoying vacation thing, but about more of like a core like wounding. This is my own, conceptualization and ways that I work. And it's going to continue to present over and over again. And we will continue to have these discussions over and over again until we get the chance to connect to that deep place. And the client needs time to be able to actually access like the readiness and the awareness of that. Whereas when they're just coming in for like, an hour once a week in between right after work and right before dinner or whatever, um, there's not that same like spaciousness to like truly drop in. So it just something was rising up in me and feeling like there has to be a better way to do this. Um, After I came to the conclusion that I'm not the problem, um, maybe, right? Okay, here's my turning point. Maybe this isn't working for me as hard as that was to come to my conclusion. And maybe I'm not the problem. Maybe this structure, right, isn't right for me. So let's talk about the shift from, traditional private practice, hour-long weekly sessions into the intensive, into the intensives. So I'm checking the chat in case you have any comments or questions. Let me know if you're tracking, if you're still with me. Diana said, I'm definitely not a fill my day with clients type of therapist. Yes, I need variety and change. Totally, totally agree with you there. That's even a tough one because you're like, oh, I want to like hit um, my financial goals, but I don't want to put so many clients. Even 5 clients in a day feels hard for me. I'm just a sensitive gal. So, how to come to terms with that too. There's a certain amount of income that I want to be bringing in, and also, doing this many clients a day or in a week just is not doesn't feel good to my nervous system. That's similar, similar type of question. So, shifting out of full caseload mode. I've told the story probably lots of times in case there's anyone who hasn't heard it yet. I offered my first intensive just on a whim. There was someone who said, "Does anyone do EMDR intensives for religious trauma. And I was like, well, I do EMDR and I work with religious trauma. So why don't I just figure out the intensive part? And it was kind of a happy accident. But when I did that, after my panic moment and learning everything I could about intensives, once I had the experience, I knew this feels good to me, right? Like the other one wasn't feeling good. This does feel good to me. I saw the depth that it could, and accelerated like outcomes, what clients could experience with longer time. And it gave me more space emotionally, mentally, physically, all that kind of stuff. So just that the contrast of those two experiences and I didn't always have like a cognitive explanation, but I had a felt sense in my body and my emotions. Like this is lighting up for me. This isn't working. So once that happened, I was like, okay, how can I do more intensives? I want to do more. And a lot of that those early days was just going wild, talking to people about intensives, talking to my clients, talking to my, other therapists in my area, talking to, like people online, networking, and just sharing my like sincere excitement about intensives. And in the beginning, maybe you're at this spot, I don't know. It felt like like nobody cared. It was like, that's great for you, da da da. Nothing came of it. But I think because it truly did excite me, I just didn't want to stop. And so I continued, and slowly by slowly, an intensive here, an intensive there, until it became more of a normal occurrence. And then in 2023, I had a big year where I did at least one intensive every month. And that was where I saw the biggest change. At that point, I still had a caseload. I was making shifts to accommodate intensives as people wanted them. And then, because of how powerful they were, it really gave me the confidence to raise my rates to a place where I wanted to be. So that when people book the intensives, once I saw it happening consistently, I could kind of begin to wean my weekly caseload down. So in the beginning, that just looked like, if someone naturally graduated or moved or was done with weekly therapy, I just didn't fill the spot. And then slowly over time, then I stopped taking weekly clients and I was only marketing for my intensives. I held on to that place probably maybe 6 months to a year. I was just afraid, honestly. And I think the majority of people having a hybrid, having some weekly clients and some intensives is going to be the most just sustainable like thing. But I that's not what I wanted for my practice. So eventually I did have conversations with my weekly caseload and said, "Hey, I'm shifting my practice into an intensive model. It's so powerful. If you want to work with me intensively, let's talk about what that would look like. And if prefer to have a weekly structure like we've had, I'm happy to refer you to a colleague in the area." So that was like when the final big shift happened. Um, and I kind of already had some data and some metrics about, you know, how many inquiries were coming in, at what time of year they were coming in, what I was charging for the intensives. And it gave me more freedom or permission, I guess I'd say, to be able to move into that model and to know that I would still be meeting my income goals, even if I was working less and seeing exclusively seeing like intensive clients. So I feel like I want to talk numbers and maybe show a slide that shows like what my income looked like before and then what it did once I made the change. Would you like to see that? Put a yes or a one in the chat. Let me see if there's anything else on here I want to cover. I see hmm, I see a comment. Okay, cool. Before we do that, I'll just say, well, no, let me pause and I'll get that. Give me just a sec and I'll pull that up. I know exactly where it is. That wasn't planned, but all of a sudden I was like, this makes it a lot more concrete to actually see. Whoa. Okay, we'll see if this will actually, if you'll be able to see it. Okay. So I believe that this was roughly based on my schedule, um, before and after. So I started with my own scenario and then what someone and the next slide is if someone was like, my goal isn't to work less, I want to work the same amount and just make more, then I show that example too. So let me see, is this readable on your screen? If not, I might be able to do this. Let's see. That'll work. Okay, I think it does. Um, so before intensives, I tend to see about 10 clients per week. So that was 40 hours a month, 40 clients per month. And in the beginning, my rate was $150 per hour. So that would be a monthly earning of $6,000. And you might be thinking, well, 10 hours is pretty light. There's some therapists who see like 20, 25, hopefully not like 30 or more. That would be pretty intense. But at that time anyway, I was, part-time, had a kid at home. Like I said, I have chronic illness, so I really have to be very careful about not overworking. But that was the financial situation there. And then when I made the shift to intensives only, I'll say here, so I was doing two intensives per month. So that was 11, there's 11 hours in my intensive package. It's 3 days, 3 hours each, and then there's a 90-minute intake and a 90-minute follow-up. So that was, I'm only working 11 hours every other week. It's 22 hours a month compared to the 40 I was doing before. Instead of seeing 40 clients, I'm seeing two clients just really, really deeply. And I mean, the biggest change is definitely I raised my rates because when I saw how powerful it was for people to have more time and the progress they made, my confidence just went through the roof. And I was like, this is so valuable. I'm showing up in my A game. Clients are showing up ready. We're doing deep work. The price point just changed for me. So obviously that makes a huge difference in terms of the earning potential, but it felt aligned for me at the time. And so with that 22 hours per month, the earning was 10K per month. which I feel like, okay, all right. That that works. That's great. The other example is this is not my situation because I did not want to work more. But if we take those numbers and say, okay, if someone did want to work more, what could it look like? Um, I know there's some people who, they do see 20 client hours per week. That's 80 hours per month. We'll say they're charging 120, and that would just about put them at the 10K mark um, per month and six figures for the year. Now, imagine if they were doing intensives exclusively. This is about 11 hours per week. Now, I have to say, your marketing game would have to be pretty on point to be doing intensives at this level, but that's a different story. Seeing only four clients, 11 hours per week, charging that more premium rate of 360 an hour, it doubles the monthly income of that up to 20K month. And then, it's over 200K, almost 250K for the year. So pretty striking. I'm not a numbers gal. I don't just naturally think, oh, let me figure out how much that would be. But when I'm encouraged to like look at it from this data perspective, it's it's pretty striking to see those numbers. And so in this situation, you know, what happened for me is I was only doing intensives every other week. So that gave me permission to decide what do I want to do on the other weeks. And for me, I'm really passionate about teaching and supporting therapists. So that's how Intensive Design Lab was created. There were times where I took time off. I did a staycation or a vacation, went to see friends, went to see family, like whatever was needed. And it was so nice to have that, to know that my income is covered and I have that choice. So if my nervous system is needing rest or a reset, that isn't a crisis. It's, I have that option. I can pull that lever and make that choice. So, yeah, that is the numbers. That's how the cookie crumbled. Let me put in the chat if you have any questions, if this is clicking for you, if there's any math errors. Hopefully not. No, I have used that a few times, so hopefully not. Okay, getting my little getting my little ADHD brain focused back up here. Just a sec. Awesome. So, truthfully, I had no clue that that was going to happen. I was very pleasantly surprised. I did not do it on purpose. And once it happened, I was like, this is amazing. How did no one like, how are we not talking about this? Like this has changed my life to be able to make the kind of income that I want to make without having to work myself to death. And without having to, work in a model of therapy that is like killing my soul a little bit. So, that's why I'm super, super passionate about talking about this. And I'd like to, for the last bit of time, kind of talk through like if I was going to do it on purpose, or if you're thinking like, ooh, this could be an interesting path for me, what I would actually choose to do to intentionally uh, bring this into reality. Okay, I'm checking the chat. I love it. This would work so well with my sensitive nervous system. Oh my gosh, yes. Shout out to our highly sensitive therapists. Um, was it cost effective for the client to do an intensive monthly versus a weekly session? It was a definitely a cost difference. So, for some people, their existing clients choose to do an intensive with them, and they may take a break after that, or they might feel like they want to continue on weekly. Or a lot of people, say my clients have been working with me in this weekly format. I'm going to do some marketing to draw in a different type of client who is looking for an intensive, who, it has a situation where they are really motivated to get that deeper support more quickly. So sometimes it is existing clients, sometimes it's not. And cost effective for the client to do. I mean, weekly sessions would definitely be cheaper. There's no doubt about it. But the question is, with weekly sessions, it's very open-ended. You don't know how long they'll be in therapy. So it's hard to put a number on it. Whereas intensives are tend to be a brief intervention. So there's a clear start and a clear stop, a clear amount of money for that. And so if people are having this you know, they're meeting their therapy goals in a shorter period of time. I have seen, I don't think it was research per se, but I have seen people who are in the intensive space say, yes, my client did ultimately save money because they met their goals faster. So the investment was higher up front to do the intensive. But they weren't staying in weekly therapy for, I mean, sometimes people are like months or years, because that can really add up. Good question. Okay. I'm gonna share my screen again for my brain. Make that big. Okay. So if I was doing this again on actual purpose, this is probably the wise way to approach it. We'll see. But clearly you can see that there's no one right way to do it. I think if you're listening inward to what's happening in your body and your emotions, you're honoring that and taking steps, right, to honor that, it matters and you can trust where it's going to lead you. So I say that first and foremost. But the strategy that I might take is first just auditing your energy and your capacity. You know, taking on starting intensives doesn't have to be a big thing, but you want to be mindful because if you are already stretched kind of thin in your weekly schedule, adding, a half day or a full day or whatever, that if you're already stretched thin, that could really have an impact. So just being honest about how you feel energetically and what your schedule has capacity for. And wherever you are, there is a way to start. And I want to share, I have a scheduling workbook that I created with therapists inside the Launch Guide program. And now I share a part of it here just broadly, because this question comes up a lot where people say, well, how would I do intensives? My schedule's too full. Or I can't rework my whole schedule. And I'm like, oh gosh, no, 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 no. You wouldn't want to do that, but there can be little tweaks or strategies that can help. So, first, know your capacity, know your baseline, where you're starting, and you can introduce, you know, this is the fancy way of just saying, like, do your first intensive, dip your toe in, have one initial experience, because that's going to give you the data and the information of does this resonate with you? Do you like this? Is this a more serious shift that you want to make? Is it something you want to have available just occasionally? Um, it's very, very hard. We're all so different that I think having that first low pressure experience can be really, really helpful. And then if that were to happen and you were like, this is fabulous, I love this, I want to keep doing it, then I don't know that I would put step three or step four first or last. Um, but I think they're both really important keys, which is one, like learning how to market for the transformation, not the time. And same for pricing, right? Like in weekly therapy, it really is about you're coming for this number of minutes and you owe this dollar amount based on that. But when you're doing an intensive package, you can you're curating an experience that's designed to lead them from one starting point to the end. And so the price can reflect, right, the value of that transformation. There's so many people who've said in my trauma intensives, like, I'm a different person. I got my life back. I feel like myself for the first time ever. That is extremely valuable. And being able to access that with just within a few days is, you know, priceless. Same thing with couples. They're coming in dealing with a very difficult conflict or saying, look, this is our final shot. We're either separating or continuing on. And I've also heard, stories where people are like, wow, we really are seeing each other in a new light and we've chosen to continue the relationship. And that's really valuable to them. So anyway, the marketing and the pricing are pretty important, as you could see in the numerical, like the number example. Marketing to be bringing in people who are interested in that type of an experience, and then pricing so that it can sustain and help you meet your intensive goals. For me, I was lucky that this sort of happened organically, and seeing the transformation in the intensives kind of like gave me the energy to market. It gave me the confidence to raise my price. So if you're looking at this being like, well, I mean, that just sounds like a lot of work. I think I think following your energy, your joy, like that is what makes it worth it and ease as opposed to like a grind or a hustle. And then the last step was that, like I shared, as the intensive inquiries started to grow, become more frequent, um, gradually reducing weekly spots. So you're not putting yourself in a um, something where you're like, I've cleared off this whole week and I'm waiting for someone to book the intensive there. I'm like, no, no, no. Keep your schedule as it is. Don't mess with any of your money coming in. But if you do have an intensive schedule with you, then there's, some strategies of how you can adjust your schedule accordingly. Some creative ways to do that. And I'll share this link with you in the chat. That's the scheduling book and some of the strategies that I've used and other therapists who've gone through the Launch Guide program have used as well. So I'll put that little in the chat. Oh, you know what? I might have to do that after. Hold on. So yeah, let me check the chat because there's stuff coming in. Hello, hello. Okay. So, the takeaway and what I honestly wish someone would have told me is that there is another way to do it. Of course, it's a journey. I didn't really have anybody necessarily showing me the way, but now there's many more therapists, especially therapists who've been doing this a while, who are like, I'm at the point where I want to do this deep kind of work all the time. I want to have the income to take time off and care for myself. and to fund, like, to live well in my life, whether that's like paying off your debts or saving for retirement or sending your kids to college, like whatever it is. And so it feels aligned to like make this shift and adjust the way that um you offer therapy so that it's a fit for you and a fit for like your vision of your life. So last little bit, my takeaway was I was not the problem. I just wasn't doing therapy the way that matched up for me. And it is possible to build a practice that supports your body, supports your purpose, and your brilliance. I love that. And I want to invite you if you're interested in um, if you want some help to create your first therapy intensive experience, I'm hosting it's brand new, it's the Intensive Kickstart. So let me see if my computer will cooperate. And I'll just show you real quick. This is totally free. It's going to be happening in January, starting January 5th. And it's a very simple mini experience to help therapists who want to bring intensives into their practice or curious about it. So let me show you if you're asking, could intensives work for me? This is what you're going to get every day for the week. You'll get a mini training from me with a truth bomb and a tiny action. So I'm helping you take those first steps to bring your intensive to life. On day one, we're going to talk about what clients want most right now. Spoiler alert, it is deep, deep work. The clients are wanting intensives. Day two, we're talking about how intensives can create real momentum and what they are, that they aren't just longer sessions. What are they exactly? We're going to talk more about it. Day three is your best work, one powerful experience. So, this is my favorite thing, which is to talk to therapists about what they do best, who they love to serve, and help them translate that into like an intensive session, an intensive package. So that's going to be super fun. Day four is all about how to claim your dream practice because we don't want to just create intensives and add them to what you're already doing, right? That would be incredibly stressful. Um, but how to really think about where it is you want to go long term and how can intensives help you get there. And on the last day, I'll be doing a masterclass. It's how to design a therapy intensive, and I'll be giving you a behind the scenes look at how to create an intensive that fits your strengths and your life. Lots of behind the scenes. Here's what's working for therapists doing intensives right now, today. Um, because I don't know, it's fun to get a behind the scenes look. And I learn by examples, so I want to show you examples too. It includes a workbook. We'll be doing it in the Facebook group. And I just released my secret podcast. It's how I created my sold out 5K intensive. So that's a bonus there too. So, anyway, here is the stuff, and you're welcome to register. It's totally free and it's going to be a lot of fun. So, yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for being here. If you have any questions, put them in the chat, and I'm happy to chat about it. I'll share the link for the schedule workbook so you can see kind of like the practicals of how you might add intensives to your schedule if that's something that's, concerning you or holding you back from wanting to plan your first intensive. That could be, yeah, I'm happy to share that. So awesome. Yay. Thanks, Diana. Thanks, Carolyn. Thanks, Michelle. Amazing. I just talked a lot. Well, I hope you have a really great day, and tomorrow's Friday. Hopefully, you have a great weekend. Bye.